welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that takes you from the back of the grid to, hopefully, not the back of the grid, all the way from 2010 to the present day, whenever that may be. And if you've been following this series for a while, you'll already know that we are in 2011, so we have these lovely new surroundings at Team Lotus. Yes, we are taking on the Malaysian manufacturer that maybe had some issues with names over the course of its very short F1 life cycle. But we've moved from Virgin Racing, where we did 2010, to Lotus, or Team Lotus, for 2011. And as you can see outside, there's Jarno Trulli chatting away to the media. We've taken the place of Heikki Kovalainen, ready for this season. And, yeah, this is already a vast difference, I feel. Just the look of it, to 2010. It looks like you're meant to be in the paddock, as you can see. People moving gear into the garage, media outside, lorries and things like that. It's a nice touch, it is. But this is where we start our season. Couple of other minor changes. No more Engineer Rob. It is now Engineer Andy. And that you can see, or you would be able to see, from our emails. Sabine still our agent, and there you go, Andy Knight. He's our man. Obviously no stand-ins to report, because it is round number 1 of the season, and we can actually take a look at the race calendar. 19 races, starting in Melbourne, and then it's Malaysia, China, Turkey, Spain, Monaco, Canada, Valencia, Silverstone, Germany at the Nürburgring, rather than Hockenheim, Hungary, Belgium, Italy, Singapore, Suzuka, South Korea, a new Grand Prix at round 17 there in India, then Abu Dhabi, and Brazil to end the season. Last time out, in the final race of 2010, we took an unlikely victory at Abu Dhabi. I think we're going to come crashing back to earth quite quickly here, having already just run the introductory race, as you might have seen in the last episode. Around Barcelona, we were not quick. We were fighting with the HRTs and the Virgin Racing cars, which is kind of what you'd expect, really, for Team Lotus. But the season that we had last year suggests that maybe with practice and a qualifying session, rather than just jumping into a race, we might be able to do something. So, without much more chatter, let's get into that practice session, and while we do, learn how this game handles Melbourne, we'll talk about the real-world 2011 Australian Grand Prix. Here we are then, the first race of a new season, the 2011 Australian Grand Prix. This was originally the second race on the Formula 1 calendar, but due to the cancellation of the Bahrain Grand Prix because of civil unrest in the country, it was moved to the opening race, something that a lot of us of a certain generation remember Albert Park being. Practice sessions also saw the first competitive running of both the new Pirelli tyres and the drag reduction system, the DRS, which had been introduced for this season. Several teams also ran reserve and test drivers in the first session, notably for us, anyway, Team Lotus, who had Karun Chandok running in Jarno Trulli's car, while Toro Rosso made a driver change for practice 1, introducing a certain Australian fan favourite by the name of Daniel Ricciardo. Red Bull really picked up from where they left off in 2010 though, topping the first and third sessions with Vettel ahead of Webber. McLaren managed to top the second session with Button ahead of Hamilton. There were some small rain showers during the second practice session, but they didn't really affect the drivers, most not really bothering to test the inter or wet tyres, with the last 30 minutes of that second session being dedicated to using DRS in race conditions, meaning only allowing activations down the start-finish straight, where you were only allowed to activate during the race. The only cars notably off the pace were the HRTs, with only one car setting a time in the final session. The Rain car Takayan was some 14 seconds off the pace, while Lietzi was unable to complete a flying lap after breaking down. Their 2011 spec front wing also failed the mandatory crash test, which compounded the issues for the Spanish team at the back of the grid. Qualifying was set to a backdrop of trepidation for HRT and Virgin Racing, both of whom were concerned they'd not make the 107% time, a sporting regulation reintroduced in 2011 as well. Though Virgin Racing were able to set times within that benchmark. HRT, however, were well outside 107% time and were refused dispensation to start the race by the FIA, meaning we'd start with just 22 cars. Team Lotus were also eliminated from Q1, continuing the trend of new teams seeing qualifying end early. Nick Heidfeld in the Lotus Renault was the other car eliminated after suffering KERS issues, and he was also impeded on his flying lap. Not a good day for the German and golden black Lotus. The second part of qualifying also saw similar cars eliminated as we'd had in 2010. Michael Schumacher, though, joined the Force India's the Williams cars, Perez in the Sauber, and Alguersuari in the Toro Rosso in the eliminated drivers section. While Red Bull went ahead and took pole, continuing their run from last season, Vettel taking that pole position ahead of Hamilton, who managed to split the two balls.
We got the telemetry we needed.
Button took fourth, while Ferrari could only manage fifth for Alonso and eighth for Massa, showing that they were maybe just a touch off the pace of their 2010 rivals. Petrov managed to put his Lotus Renault into sixth, while Rosberg, Kobayashi and Sebastian Buemi completed the top 10. Vettel got away cleanly at the start of the race, while Hamilton and Button struggled from the dirty side of the grid. Hamilton only managed to maintain second by deploying his KERS into turn 1. Button fell behind Petrov and Massa, while further down the order Schumacher and Alguersuari made contact, necessitating repairs for both cars. Barrichello was the only other driver to encounter any issues on lap 1, finding the ground as he attempted to avoid the incident between Schumacher and Alguersuari. Jenson Button had spent multiple laps attempting to get back past Felipe Massa. He did, though, eventually get by on lap 11, but had to cut the chicane at turn 11 to do so, costing Massa a further place to his teammate Alonso. This led to Button being given a drive-through penalty, though he maintained he was pushed off, but with Alonso passing Massa, it did make it more difficult to cede the position and make another move. The Pirelli tyres saw a range of pit stop strategies, with Vettel, Hamilton and Petrov running a 2-stop, while other drivers opted for a 3-stop strategy, though Sergio Perez managed to make a 1-stop work in his Sauber, eventually coming home in 7th. But both Saubers were later disqualified from the standards. It was, however, Sebastian Vettel who took victory comfortably ahead of Lewis Hamilton and Vitaly Petrov, the Russian's only career podium. In the mirror of the final race of 2010, Alonso actually found himself behind the Lotus Renault of Petrov, unable to get by. Took 4th place though, ahead of Mark Webber and Jenson Button. What can we achieve here though in our little Team Lotus car? Well, it would appear that despite the ease with which we can drive this compared to 2010, although you have seen some spins already, the legendary AI has taken quite the step up in quality. We took 12th here in qualifying in 2010, but that's quite a distance outside of our pace, which is a shame. I would like to try and at least mirror or better our Virgin Racing results qualifying finishes, but I think all we've really got is the possibility of beating our fellow new teams, the other Lotus, the Virgin Racing cars and the HRTs, and let's try and top that little battle. Let's aim for P19 on the grid in Australia. Here we are then, in the garage for Q1 in Melbourne. Practice has been okay, kind of getting back used to the fact that I can activate DRS whenever I want, which is a novel thing, isn't it, when you look back look back on DRS activation over the years, we've kind of been in and around our immediate rivals through practice, and I feel that's only really going to be the same in qualifying. The legendary AI clearly has taken a bit of a step up. We're also not running curves, which is going to harm our chances maybe just a touch. But stranger things have happened. So let's get into qualifying and let's take a look at the fastest lap in this first session. See if it can sneak us into Q2. Here is what ends up being our fastest and real only fast lap in qualifying. A little early in turn 1, maybe took a little bit too much, but the game didn't consider that a cut, so we'll carry on. As you can see as well, we're 6 laps in to qualifying, and we are just slipping ever further down the order. We are at least ahead of D'Ambrosio. Fairly clean through here. You can hear the car trying its best to get the power down. And you'll notice down at the bottom we can activate DRS wherever we please, and we're using it wherever we can. Already only 0.2 of a second up in sector 1. Keep it nice and neat through that chicane. Heading down into the next chicane, which obviously you don't drive in the modern day. Again, taking maybe a little bit too much curb on both sides, a little wiggle of the car as we go through the exit of the second part. And now we've got cars in our mirrors, as you can see by the arrows. We're nearly 0.3 of a second up here, and we navigate turn 11. Again, maybe a touch too early, but cleanly, according to the game. And those arrows continue to hound us. We are essentially trying to just run our lap, but other cars have got so much more pace. We're coming through the final sector. Again, fairly neat and tidy here, and into this penultimate corner. We had a lot of problems here, kept running wide, which was costing us time, but managed to navigate that one nicely. We've just slipped into the bottom part, and we're behind Kartikeyan, but we at least jumped above him and D'Ambrosio. And so our first qualifying session of the new season comes to a close in Q1. We were on a better lap, literally in the last 30 seconds of the session, but went for the DRS maybe just a fraction too early, coming out at the end of the first sector, and lost the car. We're eliminated then, but best of those eliminated in Q1, just ahead of Barrichello, Jerome D'Ambrosio, Kartikeyan, Trulli, Liuzzi, and Timo Glock. This might be a running theme for this season, so it very much depends on if we can pull out any heroics during the race. But let's get across to the 2011 Australian Grand Prix. Welcome then to the garage for the Australian Grand Prix of 2011. We start P18 eliminated at the top of Q1. Let's take a look at the grid before we delve into what we're hoping to achieve here. It was Sebastian Vettel that took pole ahead of Mark Webber, with Massa and Alonso in behind. Then it was 2x2 once again with Button and Hamilton. 2x2 once again then with Schumacher and Rosberg in the Mercedes. And then finally 2x2 with the Lotus Grand Prix of Petrov and Heidfeld. Kobayashi, Alguersuari, Buemi, De Resta, Perez, Maldonado and Sutil dropped out in Q2. And then, as we saw at the end of qualifying, it was ourselves ahead of the Williams of Barrichello, the Virgin Racing of Jerome D'Ambrosio, the HRT of Narain Kartikeyan, the other Team Lotus of Jarno Trulli, then the HRT of Liuzzi, and the Virgin Racing of Glock out the back. It's supposedly a no chance of rain, but fairly overcast looking sky out there, so we might find ourselves with a sudden rain shower. These games not always 100% accurate in terms of their weather forecast. We saw that a couple of times in 2010 as well. I've already looked as well. It is a two-stop strategy, as you'll probably see for a few seasons going forward now. These Pirelli tyres supposedly fall apart pretty quickly, so there are opportunities, hopefully, with a two-stop, but we'll see. I don't think we can have a dream debut like we had for Virgin Racing in 2010 and nick a point. It'll be very much about what we can do early doors to make up positions. And then if we can hold them, because pace-wise, we're nowhere. We've not got any Kers to defend with, and DRS is only activatable in the races in designated zones, and I think there are only one designated zone per track, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong. Unlike practice and quali, where you can activate it practically everywhere on every circuit other than the tunnel at Monaco. It's the only place I know you can't, I think. So this could be quite the slog for round number 1. We had a decent run in 2010 here until we made a silly mistake. The mistakes might be a little bit more difficult this year just because of how the game is set up compared to how 2010 handled, but I wouldn't be surprised if we still make some. I'm gonna aim for team objective. Let's try and hold 18th place. See if we can make some gains, maybe with cars dropping out, maybe with good calls on pits, or just getting a good run at the start and managing to defend. But it's going to be a tough one, as I think most of 2011 will be. So let's head over to the grid for the 2011 Australian Grand Prix. Red Bulls at the front, Vettel ahead of Webber. Webber, of course, our 2010 champion. Me there in 18th, Trulli a couple of spots behind. At least we get lights in 2011. 3 lights, 4 lights, and 5. And away we go at Albert Park. That's a decent getaway, that. And we're already alongside Adrian Sutil, who's been caught behind the slow starting Sauber of Perez. As we all head into turn 1, a little bump into the back of Pastor Maldonado's Williams. Buemi coming backwards. Oh, that gap's going to just disappear. But we'll go up the inside of Perez into this corner and try Buemi as well. Going the outside of Buemi there, but he's getting held up by the cars in front. It's given us an opportunity. We're side by side now. Through with P14. That's a solid first few corners. Kobayashi was defending then, and he basically just stops on the apex behind Rosberg. Oh, also still right behind us. Right there. Maybe a little early, fearing that the AI are just going to be stopped dead in front of us in a corner, as they had been earlier in the lap. Buemi's having a look. Spooked me a little bit. Rosberg has fallen very backwards to be out of the top 10. And to set the car in rich mix to try and defend against Sebastian Buemi, which we just about managed to.
Okay.
Definitely don't want that. We're certainly setting intermediates for our next stop. That's what I wanted to do. Get a warning there, that's fair enough, I guess. It is. There's a couple of corners on this track that I just always run wide through. Again, Will.
You can now use DRS.
Defend to the inside, just compromised our line a bit. And just about hold Buemi off again. And the AI kind of spooked me wide. Grass on the outside, the entrance to that corner every time. Just getting sent into the weeds through the corner. very wide, very drifty, but we survive it. Now Maldonado wants a piece of this as well. Away with DRS, flies to the outside, but again we just hold him off. Not on the exit of the corner. Can we send it back up the inside of him? We can. We clip his front wing end plate a bit. That is likely to cause him some problems.
You're doing well. It's coming together for us. We're 4 places up on our predictions.
He's missing a big chunk of front wing. You can see behind Buemi and Maldonado and that Force India there. I'm going to guess Polderesta maybe? Or Sutil perhaps, actually, because he had the pretty slow start, didn't he? If you look on the minimap, there is an enormous gap back to what I can only assume are the rest of our fellow new teams, as we'll have to get late on the brakes again there. I think, yeah, Maldonado's through. It is Sutil. Maldonado going to do what Buemi tried on the last lap as well, and we got Buemi trying to go at the inside. Run it wide though.
Jarno has just pitted. Jarno's in the pits.
Fully pits now. Maldonado's going to run away. Out of DRS range to Maldonado, so no tools to defend here. And you just slotted back in behind us. And we spin.
Your front wing's taken some slight damage. Stay out unless it's causing you problems.
Buemi and Sutil go by.
Okay, you're lapping faster in sector 3. Use that advantage to pass the car ahead.
Distance ahead of Jerome D'Ambrosio though. Tyres are ruined, I'm going to come in now. I had set this as immersive pit stops, however this game doesn't seem to have them. Oh, looks like there's a Virgin Racing coming in as well, probably that of Glock, as we have a front wing change. There's an HRT coming in as well.
Go now.
Rejoining 18th.
You're free to rejoin the track is clear.
Well ahead of Jarno Trulli. No.
We've put a new set of the option tyres on the car. That leaves just 1 stop remaining.
It was very off the circuit, wasn't it? Which might affect my possibility of getting back past D'Ambrosio. D'Ambrosio is in, as are the guys that we were fighting before we had that little half spin. And on the corner all wrong. Let's get into Rich Mix to just jump back past the Virgin Racing, which we do. Very wide. Schwarz currently leading.
Keep pushing.
Just through pit stops, I guess, more than anything else. Apart from that sort of little half spin and a couple of off-track excursions, we've not done too badly there. The benchmark of 80 points set in 2010 is possibly not going to be under threat through this season, although we may possibly be able to find something somewhere. keep doing that, won't they?
You've taken some slight damage to the front wing. You should be okay to stay out.
Half spin as Vettel laps me and goes in, so I'm going to go in as well. Just the 3 half spins this race. No biggie. D'Ambrosio goes through. Glock, I'm sure, will also go through, but all the leaders appear to be pitting in. Glock through, Karthikeyan through. Held a little bit as Massa goes by.
Watch out for traffic as you rejoin the track.
Perez is down near the back.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Like that, as I'm trying to let him by. Yeah, but Perez has taken a second stop and is...
Perez should be coming into the pits within the next 5 laps.
They certainly won't last, so we should be able to jump the Mexican.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Kamui Kobayashi, I think it is. Kamui. As well in the Lotus. Paul di Resta just smashed his front wing off the side of the car as I'm trying to let him through. You can't be telling me that's the HRT, but it is. Defending for his life, but then heads into the pits. DRS, and we'll get past the HRT. I wonder if Timo Glock's in as well.
You've got one of the Renault cars ahead of you.
He's in the pits. People that benefit us: Perez, D'Ambrosio still out. Glock though was in. Somebody else in there as well. Gap about 10.5 seconds to Perez. It's now all about whether we can retain our position ahead of him. Because beating a Sabre on track would be quite nice, even if the other one is miles up the road. Sure, who else came in that was in and around our little clutch? They are a lap down as well, so that's going to shorten the race just a touch. I think Jerome D'Ambrosio will be in this lap. There he is.
D'Ambrosio has just turned into the pits.
The P16. We're currently leading the race.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
There's Alguersuari. And Nick Heidfeld. Trying not to get involved in their battle. That's costing me a huge amount of time. Should in theory mean that the next car behind me on the minimap is Sergio Perez. The debuts of the gap for the Mexican here. Can't back off too much here with Michael Schumacher behind me because Perez is directly behind him. We'll have got DRS. There is Sergio Perez. It is the widest Team Lotus T128 of all time.
Perez is closing the gap. He's faster by around 3 seconds a lap. 3 seconds.
Oh, I may have put Perez into the gravel.
Good. We're 2 places up on where we wanted to be.
It's a robust defensive move. Back on me pretty quickly though, you feel? Sure, there's a Force India behind
DRS
him
is
as well.
now fixed and available to use.
DRS is back online. It was a Force India. It's Paul Di Resta whose race I really ruined. He was lapping me, he was 11th. Nearly lose it on that little curve again.
You've got a 5-second lead over Di Resta. 5-second lead. You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Kamui Kobayashi there. The other Sauber.
You need to find some speed. The car behind is closing in.
Kamui.
The tyres have picked up some marbles. Keep to the racing line and wear them on.
Just about let Kobayashi through, but now I've got both Di Resta and Perez on me.
Good job. Back up to speed now. Blue flag no longer applies.
I can stay with Kobayashi. Force India, they're still so much faster than my little Lotus.
You're being caught by Di Resta a second per lap.
A little bit of contact, this time wheel to wheel though. Oh, this is going to be a season of getting the elbows out. He's got past Di Resta, and it's his turn to attack now. Over and wide. Got on the curb.
Okay, we lost that position. Put some pressure on him and try to get it back.
I think that's it for 16th. Perez is going to get away. The rest has slowed up to be lapped. Sees, that must be that of Rosberg.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Getting a bit slippy slidey as we run wide out of there. Just about hold Paul Di Resta off. Feeling a bit skatey. The rest are nearly into the back of us. Perez is gone. We can head on to our final lap as I run very wide. The rest is going to go. Yeah, that's fair. Any power down as we head on to our final lap. Shame it had to end like that. The rear tyres are absolutely ruined. Got an 8-second gap to Barrichello. We've got to try and hold that for the rest of this lap. As Vettel takes the win to open the season, as we wide again. Holding on to 18th, might even end up being a struggle. There's a bit all over the shop.
You're leading Barrichello by 5 seconds.
Got a little gap to Barrichello, just got to get her in these last couple of corners now. It's been a
You need to let the car behind you pass. He's not racing you for
experience as
position.
we've got. Is that Pasta Maldonado? It is Pasta Maldonado. Cool, you can go by Pasta, right? We cross the line just ahead of Barrichello in the end to take 18th. Get an achievement as well, look at that. P18 and only just, but as you can see, our time's so far off the established teams around us. It was a tough race. That was a very, very tough race. We hold on to where we start, but only just. Made a couple of minor mistakes as the tyres wore off in basically every stint. Maybe went a little too early onto the primes at the end. But we finish ahead of Barrichello, D'Ambrosio, Glock, Liuzzi, Kartikayan, and our teammate Jarno Trulli finishes last. At the other end of things, Vettel from Webber, and then Massa, Button, Alonso, Hamilton, Petrov, Alguersuari, Heidfeld, and Schumacher, your point scorers. Kobayashi, Rosberg, Maldonado, Buemi, Sutil, Perez, and Di Resta, the rest of the order. That means that in the drivers, obviously everybody is where they finished. Vettel takes a lead after the first round, just ahead of his teammate and in our timeline, the defending world champion, Mark Webber. And in the constructors, we're ahead of Virgin Racing and HRT, which is kind of what we'd want. Much like Virgin Racing's season in 2010, we just wanted to beat the new teams, and that's really the main objective. As for the rest of the field, Red Bull lead Ferrari with McLaren in third, Lotus Renault fourth, ahead of Toro Rosso, ahead of Mercedes. Sauber got a fairly decent 11th place with Kobayashi, Williams lower midfield, Force India just ahead of us, and then Virgin Racing and HRT finishing behind us. Well, if that's a sign of things to come this season, then we may find ourselves struggling to even get a point. But there are still 18 rounds to go, and there's still plenty of time, I think, for us to come back at this one. Starting up with Malaysia next, I believe, where we'll head for the second season run-in. Well, at least we finished ahead of our fellow new teams. At least we can tick that off in round 1, and we didn't make any major mistakes. Yeah, a couple of minor half spins with a bit of damage, but that's just inexperience. It's been the best part of 14, 15 years since we played this game. So, you know, at least we're learning as we go. But that's the end of Australia. That's the end of round 1. Thank you so much for joining me. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff. I'll see you on the next one. Take care.